So, hi everyone, Gary Coleshill here, and we are here today with our special guest speaker, Mr. Scott Rulon of Rulon Financial. And Scott's going to tell you basically how you can pay for college without going broke. Good topic indeed, and something a lot of people have a great deal of interest in. So, without much further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Scott. So, Scott, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary, so much. So I've been helping kids get into college for over 25 years now. In fact, I got my own child into college tuition free. I did have to pay for room and board, but we actually got him a full college scholarship. So that was exciting. He is now proudly a mechanical engineer at Intel Corporation. So we did right by him and our family, and we've literally helped hundreds of other families along the way as well. So what I like to call this is how to get free money for college without going broke or in debt, selling body parts, or having send your kid to a junior college when they really want to go to a four-year school. And so the first thing that I always like to start out with, if you are the mother or father of a college, not a college, but a high school freshman, sophomore, or junior, you're going to start getting these letters in the mail. And so I wanted to start out by just giving you 10 scam warning signs about college and the stuff that you will receive in the mail. And so the first resource, and you ought to have a pencil handy here, I want you to write down the following website, fastweb.com. It is actually a free website that is without cost, free, and it has just about all the college scholarships available from the world at large. I would highly recommend you get your son or daughter on it immediately. And it'll take them probably 30 to 45 minutes to fill out the questionnaire associated with that. And then, if your son or daughter has an idea about what they want to do in the future, they can answer the questions according to that because there are many organizations that give out scholarships for specific things like engineering, teaching, being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an engineer. So there's lots of different things, and especially in the world of STEM, that's science, math, engineering. There's a lot more available today than there ever has been in the past. So, some of the scam warning signs. If they want your credit or bank account information, run. If they're guaranteeing a scholarship for $39.95, it's time to run as well. If they say that there's no work involved, you can't avoid putting in time to fill out a scholarship application. It does take some time. So I want you to think of this almost like a second job. So legitimate sponsors should provide contact information upon request. If they don't do that, again, it's time to run. Unsolicited scholarships. If you are to receive award for doing nothing, that's a scam. If they try to pressure you into doing something, it is a scam. If they claim that they have exclusive scholarships, well, that's just not true in most cases. And many of them, they go out of their way to sound official. So you get this letter in the mail that says national, it might say educational, it might say federal. They might have this wonderful looking seal. Be really careful. Do not give out your personal information if you don't know who the organization is. And if they are not able to answer your questions directly or take notes and call you back, it's time to run as well. Having been in this game for over 25 years, I can tell you that I have seen it all. And so there are a lot of myths out there. But let me briefly introduce myself. So my name is Scott Rulon. I am a CPA of 35 years. I've been doing college planning for 25 years. I've literally helped hundreds of kids go to school. Now, we haven't gotten everybody in for free, but I promise you that we can help you. If we can't help you reduce your tuition, we can certainly help you pay for college in the most tax sensitive manner. As for myself, I was trained by a man named Ron Carruthers, who considers himself the godfather of college planning. I'm the creator of the Rulon Career Planning Method. I'm the founder of Rulon Financial and Tax. And I have sent a kid, in this case, to Grand Canyon University here in Phoenix, absolutely tuition free. So that's exciting. Had multiple cases of some East Coast schools. Helped a young lady get into Boston University, which, by the way, costs $75,000 in tuition every year. And we got her in without having to pay a dime. So that's exciting. In fact, the day that she graduated from college, she actually sent me a picture of her jumping for joy on the Boston University steps. So definitely I'm in the financial services area, but with a unique approach in that I help people find money that they are losing unknowingly and unnecessarily. So the 5 major areas of loss when planning for college have to do with your mortgage, your taxes, your qualified plans that you have. Those are your retirement plans for those of you who don't know. Those that don't know how to negotiate with billion-dollar institutions, which colleges are, and teaching you a better way to make major capital purchases. So other than perhaps a wedding or buying a car, college is a major capital purchase. Today, most state institutions, including room and board, will cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of $32,000 to $35,000 a year. Yes, that's a year. Want to think about going to private school? Without any help, even a school like Notre Dame costs today about $75,000. Looking for the Ivy Leagues? You're talking $80,000 to $85,000 today. But here's the unique thing that most people don't know. What if you could go to a major private college and get lots of financial aid? It is absolutely possible. So let me teach you some different ways to pay for college. Well, we started out by teaching you about my favorite site called FastWeb, which you should get your son or daughter on today and take a look at. So what are the main sources of money? Well, there's free money, there's scholarships, there's grants, and there's tax credits. Did you know that the government can actually help you pay for college? Yeah, there's a lifetime learning credit and there's an educational credit. And so the government can actually help you pay for up to $2,500 per year just through tax credits. Found money. Well, that's reducing or eliminating wealth transfers. Many people have lots of wealth transfers in their life that they don't realize about it. One of the major ones I would tell you is the insurance that you buy all the time. Sometimes by raising a deductible on your car insurance or your home insurance, you can actually reduce the amount that's going out the door. Borrowed money. Well, I think this is the place that a lot of people get in trouble when it comes to college, is borrowing money. And so the government literally has 2 different types of loans. They have one called a Parent Plus loan. They have one called a Stafford loan, and one that's a little less known, which is the third one, is a Perkins loan. So a Stafford loan, in case you wanted to know what that is, that's a loan that mom and dad do not have to sign off on, thank goodness. So they can't go after mom and dad if your student chooses not to pay for the loan. So what you are eligible for the first year as a freshman, $5,500. The second year, $6,500. For the third and fourth year, you're eligible for $7,500 for each of those years. And God forbid, if your child were to go a fifth year, they will provide another $7,500. So let me tell you about a case that we had a couple years ago. I had a young lady. She was accepted at a major engineering school. She had everything in place. She got accepted to the school. And then suddenly the school raised its tuition, and she found out that she was about $10,000 short. Well, sometimes another use of some of these student loans, like the Stafford loans, if you can show that you were turned down by everybody else, the government is forced to give you some money. The other type of loan out there is called a Parent Plus loan. So a Parent Plus loan, unfortunately, is one that mom and dad have to sign off on. So if your child doesn't pay it, guess what? You are on the hook for that money. And so this is the place that I've seen a lot of parents just lose it because they keep signing off on these Parent Plus loans. And guess when those are due? You have to start making payments immediately. Unlike the Stafford or Perkins loans, which don't have to be paid off until 6 months after college, Parent Plus loans have to be started immediately. And so perhaps having one child in college is not so big a deal for you, but imagine having two or three. You know, one of the things that I actually specialized in is parents of twins, believe it or not. The interesting thing about twins is something called the expected family contribution can be cut in half. So we'll go over that in just a minute. There are various ways to save money. The one that most of you heard of is called a 529 account. So 529 accounts, when they were created about 20 years ago, were supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread. Unfortunately, what most never told you about the 529 accounts is that money counts against you when you're filling out something called the FAFSA application. That's the free application for federal student aid. So how do you qualify for aid? Well, the parent's income is a significant factor. In fact, what they do is they look at the parent's income and they take 20% of it, and that becomes part of what's called your expected family contribution. A parent and child's non-retirement assets are important. So here's the thing. So if you had assets in your name, they would only assess you 6% of that. But if those assets are in the child's name, guess what they'll assess you? 21%. Very important to keep the money in your name and not your child's name. Well, qualifying for aid may mean free money or just borrowed money. So you have to be really careful when the colleges make you an offer. Sometimes when we look at that offer, if you don't know what you're reading, you may be reading a very large loan. And the thing about those Parent Plus loans that most of you don't know is they don't have a fixed rate. They have a variable rate. And so when you have a variable rate on a loan, guess who wins? It's not you, it's the bank. And so when you start getting those loan requests in the mail, you'll see like Wells Fargo, Sallie Mae, Discovery Card. Those are some of the bigger ones that you'll see. And the other thing is school selection is a key driver for receiving free money. I mean, who would have thought that school selection would make that much of a difference? So there are really 5 steps in the planning process for college. You need to be able to understand the financial aid rule book and how it applies to you. And so I, at this point in time, have done hundreds of FAFSA applications, and I've seen people screw them up every way that you can on the planet. When I looked at it last fall, you know how many questions there were? How many questions do you think are on the FAFSA application, Gary? Well, 129 in
I'm
case you
sorry, I
didn't.
couldn't unmute myself. I was going to say 50.
Oh, yeah, there's 129 questions on the FAFSA application. And there are actually some no-nos. You know, I've seen so many people when they're asking about assets, people are putting in their 401k for a couple of 100,000, and they've entirely blown what they might get for college aid. Now, one of the things most of you don't know is after you fill out the FAFSA, it is possible to amend it. So you can do that, but you're going to have some, as we say, some splaining to do to the college aid people after you've done that. And so here are the 7 factors that you will need to consider in qualifying for financial aid. Well, first of all, the parent's income, which is assessable at 20%. The parent's age. Here's an interesting thing. So what if you come across a parent that is older than most? When I first started in the college planning world, I actually had a set of parents. There was a wide age range between the father and the mother. In fact, the father was 70 years old, and he had college age kids. So we were able to factor that in, factor in the parents' assets. So look at all of the non-retirement assets. Remember, non-retirement assets. Those are assessable at 6%. We also look at the number of people in the household. That is really important on the application. We also look at the amount of students in college. So if you had 3 students in college at the same time, you can actually get extra aid that way. That's why for parents of twins or triplets, and believe me, I had a parent that actually had quadruplets, Gary. They all started college at the same time, and they all went to different colleges, and we were actually able to save them a significant amount of income.
Think of the cost of them.
It was a lot. They all went to private schools, by the way. But most people don't realize when we're talking about private schools tend to have a lot more aid available. The key for those is just getting in. If you are a student that works, some college aid is based on actually working at the university for a particular department. But if you are working outside the university, 21% of a student's income is subject to the financial calculation for college. Student assets, those are also assessable at 21%. So it's really important to review all of your cash flows for efficiency. One of the things that I really like to talk about to people about is, guess what? How much money do you have to make to spend $1, Gary?
How much money you have to make spend for you?
Yeah, have you ever thought about that?
$10. No, I have no idea. I have no clue.
Well, sometimes you have to make $2 or $3 just so you can spend $1. And so one of the unfair things about college is for those people that have done everything wrong, they sometimes get a better deal than the rest of us, which have done things the right way. So, and you also need to learn which schools have money and which do not. I will tell you, a lot of the state schools, by the way, don't have a lot of money. So you could actually pay less to go to Harvard if you can get in than you might for Arizona State University, which is the local university where I live. The third thing is we need to really figure out where you're at for retirement and how you will pay your share for college. You know what the one of the biggest roadblocks getting in the way of retirement is? Gary, what do you think?
We think inflation.
Well, actually, it's paying for your son or daughter's college.
Really?
So one of the things that's interesting is I'm going through a college planning plan for somebody as we talk about college. And I will tell you honestly that if we looked at 90% of the nation, there's maybe 5% that have even saved enough for the first year and a half of college. I mean, that's just crazy. State universities, 120 to $130,000. That is a lot of money. Imagine if you have more than one kid, just double that or triple that. Other ways that can be borrowed for college, well, there are some people that borrow against their home equity, but Gary, knowing a little bit about real estate yourself, where are mortgage rates today?
7% roughly. They've gone up as high as 8 recently. They've dropped a little bit lately.
Yeah, so 7 to 8%. Most college loans, by the way, are a little bit less than that. And so when you get one of those Perkins or those Stafford loans, you have to pay those back over a 10-year period. And that will cost your son or daughter $360 a month for 10 years until that's paid off.
Well, you can't get out of them either, can you? I don't think you can get
No. So the
off of
thing is,
bankruptcy, really.
they are not dischargeable in bankruptcy. Just like your taxes, which in most cases aren't dischargeable, neither are your college loans. They are always sitting out there. So certainly there's different ways to pay college loans, but you have to pay them off. And I mean, if you're counting on the government to pay those for you, I can literally tell you that out of maybe like last year, 125,000 applied for debt relief on those. You know how many actually got it? 500. Not a whole lot. So I want everybody to take their pen or pencil out right now because I want to talk about one of the most important concepts in college planning. I call these the magic 3 letters. And they are, write these down, EFC. In fact, Gary, for the first person who can write in the chat 3 letters EFC, let's get them an extrarestaurant.com gift card.
Okay, sounds fair to me.
All righty.
Once we've done that, we have a couple of questions which I'd like to address before we continue. So let's just do this first, and I'll read the questions to you.
Yeah, we can address some questions right now if you want to.
Let's see. Yes, absolutely. Then we can look at the results here. I've got one here. Should I apply to a community college if it comes down to that? I never took college seriously, and now I'm a senior, and it's my reality. My grades are good. I'm just afraid a good college equals a lot of money, and I don't want to go broke for college, which is a fair question. Community college is, to be fair, a better deal than like obviously like a private school or Yale or something. But even community colleges have expenses. I mean, what are we looking at there?
These days, probably about $4,000 a year. And remember, you don't have room and board at a community college. And so one of the interesting things that's happening today at community colleges, there are some community colleges that are turning into 4-year colleges.
Yeah, some good ones, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, here in Phoenix, Glendale Community College, especially, if you want to go to work for like the fire department or the police department, community college is a fine way to go and it is much cheaper. So I would never discount community college. And I will tell you that a lot of the community colleges do have agreements with the larger state colleges. Since we're speaking from the state of Arizona, I'll just talk about ASU, NAU, and U of A. They have equivalency programs so that the classes you take in community college can be transferred up to the state college after that. I mean, I think that is a tremendous deal. So maybe what you could do, the first 2 years, you could pay for $4,000 for 2 years for community college, and then you can move up to the bigger college like an ASU, a U of A. Surprisingly, in Arizona, we have a lot of kids going to the University of Alabama. Who would have thought that? But Alabama is actually recruiting rather heavily in the state of Arizona these days.
Yeah,
I guess all those college wins, number ones in the football game, have given them a lot of money to recruit kids from out of state. Did you have another question, Gary?
Yeah, actually getting
okay.
a couple coming through here.
Sure.
For the next one, so you can get student loans for community college. That's the
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, you can do that.
Now, Nitesh is asking: is the interest on student loans eligible for tax rebates, or is there any relief?
Well, it's not a tax rebate, but it is a tax deduction. So those happen in the same place on the tax form where you can deduct individual retirement accounts. You can deduct student loan interest. So, but student loan interest is only deductible within a certain income range. And after you go over that income range, which I think for married filing joint couple, it's right around the $165,000 mark. That's not exact on, but as long as your income is less than that, you can deduct your student interest. And let's not forget about the college credits. I mean, there's some great college credits in there. There's the lifetime learning credit, and then there are other credits as well, and they can help you deduct up to from $2,500 to $2,000 in college tuition paid. And so here's the interesting thing with some of those credits: they also have an income limit. So where you're using the American Opportunity or lifetime learning credit, let's say, for example, that mom and dad make too much money. Well, here's what you should do. You should have your son or daughter file their own income tax return so that they can get the credits. I mean, what a great way to save $2,000 to $2,500, and the government pays for it through your tax return. That's a beautiful thing. Another thing that I think a lot of you miss is you forget that there are a lot of employers, including the armed services, with the Montgomery GI Bill, that if the parent chooses not to take the college benefits while the parent is still in service in the military, those benefits can be transferred to their son or daughter to help pay for college. Most people don't know that. So that's another place to look for them. Other places to look for them, and I know of a couple of insurance companies that actually have college tuition grants. One of them is I'm not going to tell you what it is, but one of them is out of the state of Michigan. And they provide over 100 $4,000 to $5,000 scholarships every year. There's another company called, and I'll tell you what that one is. They're called Foresters. They have a student tuition scholarship for up to $7,000 per year. I mean, that's not bad, is it, Gary?
No, it's pretty good. I've got a couple more questions. Maybe we should hold these questions till the end.
All right. So let me just go over EFC first, Gary, and then I'll be happy to take about 5-10 minutes to answer questions.
That'd be great, and I'll read them out then. So everyone will get their questions answered. And let's just say who was the winner, first person to put in EFC. Golly, everybody put in EFC. Would be, and if hopefully I pronounce this correctly, it would be Gaby Kulakova. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. You put your answer in first. So you will get the extra gift card. I will make a note of that right now. So congratulations to you. And Scott, if you'd like to continue, and I will get back to everybody else's questions at the end. So
Absolutely. So again, let's talk about the magic three letters, EFC. That's the most important three letters in college planning. They stand for expected family contribution. And so here's what the college age aid formula looks like. I want you to write these down. This is very important. Number one, COA, cost of attendance. And then you subtract the expected family contribution. Now we figure out EFC from the FAFSA form. That's the free application for federal student aid. So if we take our COA, cost of attendance, less our EFC, we come down with need. So just realize the EFC is how much you and your family are going to have to pay for college. Now, there are some ways that we can help with that. There are certain tricks of the trade, so you don't put the wrong information in the FAFSA form. But in the end, what you're left with is this thing called family need. And so I will tell you, when we look at most state universities, you might be able to get 40 or 50% of that family need fulfilled, but you're still going to have to get the rest fulfilled. But if we're talking about some of the private schools, and that can include the Ivy League schools, what we really call them, in my language, call them profile schools. So there are about 200 profile schools in the U.S. Small schools like Emory in Georgia, Tulane, and in Louisiana. And they will generally provide somewhere between 90 and 100% of the family need, Gary.
well, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that you can go to schools like that. In case you hadn't guessed, Gary's originally from England. So you could go to schools like Oxford and Cambridge for the price, or sometimes even a little less than like Arizona State. So you could go to Harvard, Yale, or Princeton if your son or daughter can get in. And they provide almost all the aid necessary. So who would have thought something like that exists? So when I look at most of the CSS profile schools, and by the way, that application is 3 times as long as the FAFSA application. And it probably takes a few hours to do. Obviously, at this point in time, I've done hundreds of them, but can certainly help people with that. So remember, your EFC never changes. It doesn't matter whether you go to a profile school or you go to a state college. EFC is always the same. And so most people are really surprised to know that sometimes they can go to a private school for less than they can go to a public school. And so one of the key takeaways here that I would like most of you to think about, when you have your son or daughter sit down and make a list of colleges, and I would suggest they write down about 10 to 12 colleges. And remember, you have to do some research as well too, but don't be shy about picking cool schools that are expensive, because sometimes they will pay for a lot more of the family need than the state schools will. So understanding what your expected family contribution is and how to lower it is really important. So make sure you all wrote down that equation: cost of attendance less expected family contribution equals family need. And so we're sitting about 35 minutes in. So I would like to open this up for about, let's go for about 5 minutes of questions. And I would be happy to answer those for you. If you are not picked, that doesn't mean that you're not important. That means that you can just send us an email. So Gary, do you have your email in the chat?
I did, but it's disappeared because we have been getting so many comments here. I would actually ask everyone here if that you can do me a favor, and if you have any questions, use the Q&A box. That way, I'll be able to focus on them because the chat box is getting kind of long, and I have to keep scrolling through it. So let me just put my email address in now. It's GaryC@EliteProSpeakers.com. Any questions that we miss, we'll try not to. You can email me, and also you can call me on the toll-free number, which is 888-894-2929. I'm going to put that in as well, and then I'm going to read off your questions there. So yeah, I don't want to miss any questions. So as I say, put them in the Q&A if you can, and there are my details up there. Let's go back. Adriana asked, would there be a recording available? Yes, there will be, but you're going to have to ask for it. So that's a good start. Use my email. Then put recording on there and send it to me, and I'll make sure you get one. GaryC@EliteProSpeakers.com. Thank you for that. Another question here. How can one claim themselves as an independent to avoid unnecessary paying? I don't know, but Scott will. So Scott.
So claiming yourself as an independent can be pretty difficult. And so that literally means you need to, other than college, you need to live outside your home for at least 2 years. I've received no support from your family. I will tell you, it is a difficult road to be independent. For most cases, if you've grown up in a household and your parents have supported you for, I don't know, 18 to 20 years, it is a very uphill road to do that. I have maybe seen a handful that have actually gotten through it, but not many. Most of the time, you're gonna have to fill out the FAFSA application with your family. Really, the only way is there is a process of, I just call it divorcing yourself from your parents if you go independent. That is one way of doing it. But that is generally not done for college purposes. And if they figure out that you did that just so you could get college, it's not gonna fly. And trust me, you probably want to know if you lie, what happens if you lie on your FAFSA application. That is a federal crime, by the
Sure.
way.
I was going to say, I'm sure there are repercussions for that. Yeah.
And I will tell you, last time I saw somewhere between 1 out of 5 and 2 out of 5 FAFSA applications are fully scrutinized. I've seen many times where the college aid people are actually calling up mom and dad on the phone, or you, to see if they can trip you up on some of your answers.
Yeah,
you need to be really careful with that. Remember, if you're borrowing federal funds and you lie on that, you have put yourself in a very precarious situation.
Yeah, you might be getting free room and board for a while.
Yep, just a couple bars in front of the window, right?
Yeah, right. Hopefully not. Anyway, can you appeal the financial aid? Is there an appeal process if you're not happy with what you're getting, or I suppose there must be.
No, absolutely. I am so glad you asked that question. Just because a college offers you a certain amount of money doesn't mean that you have to accept it. We actually have some letters that we have written on behalf of our students to get additional aid. Let me give you a great example where that might happen. So say your mother or father is self-employed and they had just a tremendous financial year, the year that you applied for college, but the next year, which is by the time you're applying for the college, the floor has fallen out in their business. That is certainly great grounds for applying for additional aid. If there's been a specific type of life change, Or let's say a mother or father died. Obviously, that's a life change. Other cases, mom and dad got divorced. So here's an interesting question. So if mom and dad got divorced, whose financial information do we put on the FAFSA application, Gary?
I don't know, actually. Not something I've really thought about.
I will tell you most of the time it's the parent that they live with.
Oh, okay. That kind of makes sense.
So
Right.
one of the big mistakes you can make on a FAFSA application is if you put the non-custodial parents' information on the FAFSA application with the custodial parents, you have probably just gypped yourself out of thousands of dollars of college aid.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but what if mom and dad are not divorced yet, but they live in separate households, but they're still married? It
Hmm.
wouldn't be the first time that we've had college age people call on the phone and said, "Well, your mom and dad aren't divorced." And so we've actually had to send in a copy of a lease agreement to show them that mom and dad didn't live together anymore and who the custodial parent was. There are some colleges that are real, pain in the what's about this, and some that aren't. You just have to be careful. And this is why it's really important to apply to multiple schools. You just never know which one is going to give you the best deal. In fact, when we did this for my son Thomas many, many years ago, we applied to multiple schools. And there are a couple of schools that only want to give us a few $1,000s, but the school he ultimately went to gave him a full tuition package. So different schools will look at your children in different ways. And let's also not forget, so there's probably not too many people that get sports scholarships, although that is an important element of college planning. Did you know that there is actually a school in the US that gives scholarships for BMX bike riding? So if your son or daughter is a BMX bike rider, they might be able to get a scholarship from a school in Indiana. I'm not going to tell you the name of the school, but
They have
I will tell you there's a school that does this.
a
Um,
BMX program at the school, do they?
yeah, Gary, have you ever watched the Olympics and seen synchronized swimming?
Yes, I have.
Do you know that there's 3 colleges in the U.S. that give full tuition scholarships for synchronized swimming?
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Why do I know
I did not
this?
know that.
Because I had a young lady
I was going
who,
to say, were you doing synchronized swimming?
no, I had a young lady who was one of the local high schools, and I found out this high school ranked fourth in the nation for synchronized swimming.
That's
So there was
just
a school, there's
interesting.
a expensive school in California. There's a school in San Antonio, school in Ohio, and one other one that all offer scholarships for synchronized swimming.
Wow. I'll
Believe
have
it or
to.
not.
I'll make a note of that in case I ever decide to take it up as a sport.
Absolutely. Any other questions, Gary?
A couple.
Okay.
So I don't know virtually anything about this topic, so I'm just going to throw these over to you. So hypothetically, would my child be able to have CC credits in high school to transfer to college after they graduate?
Yeah, there's a couple ways to do that. There's something called a CLEP exam. You can take those and get college credit. There are things called advanced placement exams. If you get a certain score on those, they will give you college credit. And don't forget, there are college credit courses that you can take in high school. A lot of times, those are more of the advanced placement type courses. But absolutely, sometimes you can get your English classes out of the way, or you can get some of your math classes out of the way. In fact, I have helped a couple kids where they actually had completed their first year of college by the time they got to college because they had taken enough of their their AP or advanced placement classes in high school.
Okay. There's a couple more, and I think we'll have to wrap because of the time. But let's see what we've got here. Make sure I haven't missed anything. What is the best side hustle to help with college tuition? No idea. Work at a restaurant, I think, actually, to be honest. I know a lot of people a lot of students that worked in restaurants as servers to get money during college,
So
including
there is
including
something
my
that I can
boys.
tell
My
you.
boys
So
both did
one of the interesting things when doing college planning, and it is sometimes a way to lower your income, if you do have a side hustle and you've lost money at it. Now, this can't be what we call just a hobby, but you've lost money at that. That can certainly affect your expected family contributions. I mean, one example of that in this online world that we're all in today is something called affiliate marketing. So there's different side hustles you can do. And if you do happen to lose some money at it, remember, you do have to make money 3 out of 5 years. But if you happen to have a couple of years where you lose some money, that can certainly affect your expected family contribution.
Okay. And I think, yeah, same. Both my boys actually went to colleges, and both of them were actually waiters in restaurants at the same time. So that kind of got them through and helped. And also, Scott did help by advising us on student loans, etc. at the time, which was
Yeah, because I would tell you the number one mistake when your child, son or daughter, is going to college is not filling out your FAFSA application.
Yep, we did that. And
that can make a big difference.
One more here, I think, and we'll wrap. What if my EFC is already zero? Is there a way to get more funds for books and materials outside of scholarships?
Well, it's usually pretty difficult to get an EFC of zero. So one of the other ways to get funds out of college is that there's a place on campus. It's called the bursar's office, and the bursar is usually the person that distributes funds from people that have left endowments to universities. And so maybe they didn't have the right combination of factors to pay. To pay out a certain scholarship. Sometimes because they have to give out the money, if you're the first person to get into the bursar's office, you might get some extra student aid there. And so that's one that people usually don't talk about in the college planning world, but it is a great way to get some extra money. I know these days you can do what's equivalent to like rent a book. Sometimes those are cheaper ways to get the books. So sometimes you can just ask the college, say, hey, I don't have enough money for books. What other sources of funds are there? And so a lot of times working a student job is usually a good way to do that.
Okay. Well, I think it's about time we wrapped here. Appreciate everyone's interest and some great questions. Thank you very much. And thank you, Scott, for doing a wonderful job and explaining very well. We're going to wrap up now. And when we do, when we end this, you will see appear in your browser. It's not even a survey. It's a form to fill out with your contact details so that we can process the gift cards for you. Just make sure that we do have accurate, verifiable information. Pretty much off the top of my head, it's name, verifiable, and I must stress that, US mailing address, very important, email address, and a verifiable phone number, one where you actually answer or actually have a message on your voicemail, and not something that just goes, rings forever or goes to, nothing, no voicemail or anything like that. So yeah, make sure the information is verifiable. If you have any extra questions, or you'd like to book a free consultation with Scott to discuss this further, you can just add it to that form. Just after you answer one of the, fill out one of the sections like address or whatever, put please call for please call, or yeah, have a question or something, and we'll get back to you. So you can be creative there. So thank you, everyone, and you should be seeing that form in the next couple of minutes. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Bye for now.